techno parade. All right, we're going live. Well, I guess technically we're already live, but here we go.
Fresh tires.
Damn.
For real? Wow, it is crazy how long the delay is. Oh, there it goes.
Hello, everybody.
Hey.
Hi, Kyle. How are you?
I'm chatting with everyone in the chat.
Oh, if you want to talk to Kyle, join our Twitch. This is episode 31, and Kyle's going to show us how to repair burnt pins.
Yeah, all sorts of burnt stuff.
All sorts of burnt stuff.
It's going to be exciting. I'm
Our
going to turn my phone
energy
off.
Our energy's a bit low today, so please be very active in the chat and get us pumped up. For those who are here for our free shipping 99 code, you can see the little scroller guy over there. It's PT burnt pins because that's what we're doing.
It scrolls in the bottom corner.
We're fixing burnt pins. It scrolls in the bottom corner. You didn't know that?
No,
That's
I don't get to watch
upgrades.
this. Okay, here. I'm going to keep myself in the chat room the whole time now so I can see everybody. Okay.
I'm always like, I hope I didn't misspell anything.
What do we
Gotta
misspell?
love burning stuff. I love the smell of burning. Maybe, Kyle, do you like the smell of burning pinball machines? Probably not.
If it's my game, no. If it's a customer's game, all I see is dollar signs. No, I'm just kidding.
You're hilarious.
Any burnt pinball machine's pretty sad, so I don't like it.
For sure. So before we get into our class, let's do our notifications, our updates, our news, shout out. It's not really news, but our announcements. There you go. Words are going to be, I apologize. So first announcement is if you are watching on Facebook, thanks for watching, but please join us on Twitch. One day in the very near future, we will not be streaming to YouTube. Ooh, I see that one person. You're on YouTube or Facebook, and we'll just be on Twitch. Twitch is a really awesome service and community, and it allows us to be more interactive with our fans, and that's what we want. So we would love for you to switch over. Just go to twitch.tv/Marco Pinball, get a free Twitch account, hit the follow button and notifications on so you can see when we go live, and browse the pinball section because a lot of other great streamers are out there and you can find some really interesting stuff to watch.
Meet some new friends.
Yeah. And if you subscribe or use your channel points, you can use our fun emojis like Kyle face, which is my personal favorite.
Everyone's
or
favorite.
This Steve Brogy face.
What about the screwdriver?
Steve Brogy, for those who don't know, he is smidge37 on Twitch. And he is one of our most beloved OG Marco Pinball employees. Been here for over a decade. So you probably already know him.
Probably do, most of you.
Stop looking at my chat. See? Swizzlefish used their chat points to highlight their message. And
hey,
now
cool.
I can't stop looking at that bright purple highlight.
Twitch is fun.
So come on over to Twitch. Join us on Twitch. One day we won't be on Facebook. Maybe I'll put up like what can I do to send people on Facebook over to Twitch? Just a reel that pops up saying, "Hey, we're live on Twitch right now. Come over here."
Yeah, maybe. We could use another computer to just go live and then make them go to Twitch.
Mr. Cleanhead said, where did the TNA go? Kyle gave it to me for Christmas. Thank you, Kyle.
Hey,
and
no
it's
problem.
right behind me, but you can't see it. Yeah, right.
I'm glad you love
I
it.
wish. We all wish. I think TNA is just slightly on to the other side of Kyle. He's looking at it, see?
Yeah, what
But
cameras?
you can't see it. But look at all these other great games. We have Kings of Steel. We have,
It's there.
what is that? 2001, Twilight Zone, Lady Luck, Turtles.
All my goofy old games. Yep. No,
You'd
TNA.
rather us stay here on YouTube? Oh, I know. We would love to stay on YouTube.
We have to. We have to make the switch eventually.
We have to switch to grow. Come on. YouTube's awesome, but Twitch is awesome too. You're going to love it. Just come on over. Steve equals Lemmy.
Yeah. No, Steve is absolutely. Looks just like Lemmy, especially when he shaved off his beard. He really looked like Lemmy for a hot minute. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah. All right. Let's see what else. Oh, Kyle.
What?
Rest in peace to Replay Foundation.
Yeah, that's really sad.
It's very sad. Everyone is on Facebook and on their podcast and everything talking about the glory days of Pinburg and Replay FX, a very beloved show that has been going on for many years. And it's very sad that they put that out official statement saying that it's not looking good for them.
I hope that we will have some sort of I don't think the spirit of Pinburg will die, even if Pinburg itself will not exist anymore.
It will evolve. It will rise from the ashes into something better.
I mean, maybe
after
we're
all
lucky
this COVID mess goes away.
and we will be able to figure out a way. There will be a way to save the Replay Foundation as it sits now. I'm hopeful. I wish that I could do something, but who knows? I do think I am bummed out that I never got to go to Replay FX. I am not a competitive pinball person, so Pinburg never really interested me much, but being there was always a very, it sounded really cool. In a sense, it was always on the other side of the country for me. I just never got to go to it. This year, I was like, oh yeah, maybe it would be fun to go to Replay FX, but alas.
Alas, indeed. Oh no, look at this. So here's an interesting predicament, Kyle.
What?
Kevin Moore and Michael McKenna say Twitch is blocked. So I guess they're like at work watching and the IP is blocking Twitch or something.
Yeah.
So they can only watch on Facebook.
That's a bummer. I mean, use your mobile data. Use a VPN.
Yeah, come on, Windscribe.
That's a bummer. We'll figure out when it's going to happen, but hey, maybe this gives you the time to figure out how to get a VPN set up on your phone or computer.
For sure. And let's see, what else do I have? Oh, congrats to Poor Man's Pinball Podcast. Is it Poor Man's? No. Oh my gosh. Congrats to Loser Kid Pinball Podcast they're about to hit their 50th episode.
Cool.
So you should check them out. That's a big feat. They
I like that
interview
show.
lots of great people and then they just kind of do their show together. And it's Scott Larson and Josh Roop. And it's a really fun podcast. One day Kyle will have a podcast.
No, I will. Kyle will work on doing some interviews with some interesting people, but no one wants to hear my
Kyle
opinions
will
on
have some
anything.
audio content.
Yeah. Yes. Maybe one day
wanna do
Kyle
a
will have
Marco
audio
podcast.
content. So we'll see.
If anyone knows Crystal Gemnick, she works for Marco Pinball. She does the Plum Pinball podcast for the Pinball Network. And we are all encouraging her to do a Marco podcast version. Go send her a little message and be like, hey, Crystal, when is your Marco podcast coming out?
Yeah. Hey, Crystal, you should spend more time editing audio.
I know, right? Come on. We all need a million things to do constantly.
Yeah, life's no fun unless you're under a deadline crunch, right?
In the chat, what's everyone's favorite pinball podcast to listen to right now? That'll give us a inkling of the type of content you want to hear.
I'm so
Another
far
thing
behind.
I was going to do these episodes in audio form and see how they translate.
Huh.
It might be good just like background stuff. What do you think? Would PinTech Live work as just an audio archive as well?
I think a lot of people do listen to it as audio, but I also think at the same time, so much of the visual is important. I think it's better to keep it as a visual thing.
Glow Melly was like, no.
Yeah.
Dragar would listen to it.
Well, you are listening to it, and you're also watching
Yeah.
it. You could put your phone down or your computer. You can turn around and you can listen to it also. But
That's true. But it'd be like the archive. So we'd go live, and then right after we go live, there's an audio version.
well, I think so much of what we do is visual. I don't know. I kind of think that's not. I don't think it makes sense. But I also. I don't know anything. You know more than I do. You're the media person. I'm just a guy that turns screwdrivers. So I think I do appreciate. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I don't listen to a lot of pinball content anymore. I really like the Slam Tilt podcast a lot. I really liked Head to Head Pinball. I really liked listening to This Flippin' podcast for a long time too.
Mm-hmm.
I listened to, a ton of Coast to Coast when that was still coming out.
Oh, Coast to Coast was so good.
A long time ago, but I've kind of just been behind. I do like the Loser Kids Pinball podcast though. The interviews that they do with, they did one with Roger Sharp a couple months ago, didn't they?
Mm-hmm. They've done one with Zach and Josh. I think their latest episode is with Raymond Davidson, number one competitive pinball player in the world.
Yeah, I really like the first one I ever listened to with them was with the one with Roger Sharp. To me, I like listening to the interviews with people more than like people's opinions on some things.
Yes.
But and listening to Roger Sharp is just it's incredible every time. He's so eloquent. And just his stories are just wonderful. I could sit there and listen for hours. He always goes on and apologizes that he's been talking for 3 hours, but it's like more, don't stop, please.
No one in the chat listed their favorite podcasts. I'm calling y'all out. Do you guys not listen to pinball podcasts? Because if you all say right now that you don't listen to pinball podcasts, I'm gonna just drop this project completely.
No. Well, not everyone. I don't know. Since we're in the industry, you listen to a ton of podcasts. I like the Macho Pinball podcast.
I try to listen to everything. Oh yeah, Macho.
But I know
Puppet
and I hear so
Pals.
much about the industry every day. I don't need to listen to a lot of people talking about it.
Pinball Profile does awesome little
That one's
excerpts
fun.
on people.
That one's
It's
fun.
very
This Week in
digestible.
Pinball.
Broken Token is awesome. Man, there's so many good.
I know, and that's
This
the
is
problem.
your favorite pinball stream for this year?
Hey, thanks.
Big heart to all of you.
I like to
No
listen to history
podcasts.
podcasts a lot. My favorite podcast right now is the Revolutions podcast. I've been listening to that for a very long time.
Yeah, Swizzlefish, I think that's both of our biggest concerns about podcast content is, he said, how many opinions on GNR can there be? Everything is kind of just regurgitated news.
Yeah. And again,
we don't want you to come for opinions. We want to teach you stuff. That's like with PinTech Live, we're here to teach you things that you may not know or need refreshers on. And it's not really, it's Kyle's opinion on a lot of things, especially last episode where it's cleaning your pinball machine. You guys should check that out on our YouTube archive. But overall, it's a learning experience.
But let's talk about that really quick, because the number one thing that I try to keep in line is like not saying something as if it's gospel, right? Because I can be wrong, and I do things my way. And generally, I really try to emphasize that this is my opinion or the way I do it, right? It's like, you can teach me another way to do it, and if I like that better, I'll absolutely take it. I'm not too proud to, only do things one way. But let me do a few clarifications on things from that cleaning episode last week, because that was hard to wrap my mind around, because that's been something that it was more difficult for me to put into words. I said that I don't like using anything water-based. Novus is water-based. Let me clarify. I like using, the Novus is pasty, so it doesn't go run around, and it is a very easy to control cleaner substance as opposed to a lot of things that are liquid. I mentioned that Novus number 1 really doesn't have too many uses when it comes to pinball. I take that back. Novus number 1, when you buff and really polish out a playfield with Novus number 2, hitting it with some number 1 afterwards really does put a good sheen on the playfield. If I'm not going to wax a game, I will use Novus number 1 sometimes to just give it that like bright depth out of some of those, like, when the black turns like really liquid and deep looking. Novus number 1's really good at bringing out that sheen. But it's not a really good cleaner. It's a good after process. Those are two things I just wanted to clarify, because I don't like giving bad information. So when we go and do our YouTube thing, I definitely want to put an annotation with that information when I'm talking about Novus. So
yeah, absolutely.
just to clarify,
it's on my to-do list. I'll do that right after the show. I remembered. Well, all right. Well, let's move on, shall we? Let's get some energy pumped up and let's go to our product spotlight of the week.
Oh.
Are you ready, Kyle? All right,
Yeah.
I'm going to play the video.
No, hold on. I forgot to move that.
All right, you're live. He's totally ready.
You ever have a pinball machine that's really gross, and you go and you want to make it look better, and you find broken plastics? Don't fret. We have mini plastic sets in our store. The one that we have here is one that we just got from our supplier. It is a Data East Star Wars plastic set. It's awesome to be able to take these games that, and Star Wars is a game especially that got played a lot, and a lot of those plastics have been broken for some time, and for a long time you just haven't been able to get them. We've been working with suppliers to get a lot of plastic sets back in stock to really make your game hit that next level of purdy. So if that is something, a lot of the plastic sets we do have, we could call them like the easy break sets, right? Like pieces that break very often. Think of your slingshots, right? The bottom edges of the slingshots are always cracked, or plastics that go right above stand-up targets or something like that. So a lot of times we'll be able to offer like your easy break set. Generally on a good amount of our plastic sets, they do include extras of those easy break sorts of things. So when it's time to really bring your game to that next level after you've cleaned and polished and replaced and fixed, new plastics are definitely a really good way to bring it to that next level. Look at this Y-wing that's getting blown up.
Yeah, can you show us a few of those plastics, like really close up?
Bam.
Ooh.
It's
That's
neat.
beautiful. I want to see more.
These Data East games, the art is, what's a good word? Polarizing. Some don't like it, some do like it, but it is neat to, a lot of these plastics you can't see unless you really like take a game apart. A lot of these things are buried and hidden. So it's kind of neat to see them all up close. But, I can't hold things. Jabba's bounty. You've got IG-88. Where the heck does this even go in the game? I think this goes like in the back corner, or it goes like underneath a bunch of stuff under the Death Star. This piece of plastic is always broken on Star Wars. I do not remember where this goes. It's on the right side of the game, but it's always broken. So it is nice. Now you can make your Star Wars that much better by replacing these sorts of things. So the Imperial shuttle, probably the coolest ship design in Star Wars. That is not opinion, that's actually fact. I don't know. And it's neat, like, right, like this is a layered piece of plastic. Data East did some really neat stuff by putting pieces, clear pieces over other things to get that almost a three-dimensional effect. Whoop, whoop. So, kind of neat. So yeah, check and see if we have your game. And if we don't, let us know and we can see if we can source these things.
Fresh tires.
Is that an acceptable spotlight?
That was beautiful. And now back to the show.
Okay.
Sorry, Brad Hunter. It was show and tell time, man. We had to show off some very nice plastic sets that we have. So
Yeah.
if you have a Data East Star Wars, we got some broken plastics. We got them. Okay, so everyone's like, can we please learn how to fix our GI header cables, Kyle? Please.
Yeah, we can try. I am going to try to get my energy levels up, so I apologize for that. Give me 1 second, sorry. I dropped something. I'm trying to go underneath to pick it up.
I know, we're like just chilling here. Where did Kyle go? They do look awesome. Thank you. Yeah, they looked really great. We need to get even better pictures on our website to really show off the details of those. It's just, I love it.
Okay, I'm back.
Oh, Danielle wants to know if we can make custom plastic sets.
No, that's not really our forte, unfortunately. I know that...
You can make custom Mylar pieces, right? To protect your plastics and playfield.
So we do have some pre-cut Mylars, and we do cut Mylar for games that we have the patterns for. But if you wanted custom plastics, I mean, I know CPR's doing that, but I have no idea how much that costs. It's probably rather pricey. Might be good to find a local plastic person to be able to do some sorts of those sorts of things.
Yeah, I guess if you're working on a homebrew with your own unique theme, it would be really cool to get CPR to do your plastic set.
Yeah, again, I have no idea how much that costs, but it's a pretty neat service, you know. One-stop shop, get it all printed up. Kind of cool. So.
Awesome. So here we are at school, pinball school. Welcome to PinTech Pinball School.
It reminds me a lot of school because I'm exhausted. But we got this. This is something I've done 10 billion times, and it should be really easy to teach. I have the board out of the game already. This is our driver board. Do you want to make the small camera the big one? Or this camera? We've got our driver board out of the game. This guy, you'll very commonly find these two connectors here. J120, J121. These are generally very burnt and discolored. I think we showed it when we first opened the game. The actual the connectors that plug into these were super crisp and nasty. And to repair this effectively and thoroughly, we need to replace the connector housing with its the pins, the receptacles, and the actual header pin that is in the board here. The reason we need to replace this is because through metallurgy and scientific electronic principles, something that is not shiny and it's lost its coating has higher resistance than something that is shiny on shiny. So if we were to replace the top end, right, the female housing here with new pins, it wouldn't last long. We would get a lot of resistance and they would start to burn up. So to effectively repair this and never have this be an issue again, we will replace the headers on the board. We will repair the harness side and the connectors that plug into them. And we will also swap out at least half of the general illumination for LEDs. LEDs pull a lot less current, and that will make for certain that this issue will never be an issue again. That being said, if you do prefer incandescent lights, and this is a game that is going to be in your home, it will last a bazillion times longer because the game isn't on all day like this thing was for so many years, right? When games go into homes, they're like time capsules, so it's the current draw will just be so much less. Removing this board, this thing has been worked on, and it has been worked on rather sloppily. Things I can see here, and I mean, I guess I'm guilty of it too, but we have a lot of all the headers in the board, they look like they have been reflowed. Somebody might have put a little bit of new solder onto here, but we see a lot of flux. Does that come through, all that yellow goop on all these things?
It's gross.
So, I mean, generally, if we were doing a really good job, that would all be cleaned off. I can see the LM339 up here has been replaced or at least unsoldered at one point, which is kind of gross. Looks like someone did an okay job, but again, if someone who really knew what they were doing, they would have socketed this chip instead of just unsoldering it and putting it back in. That's kind of lazy. We've got some opto isolator chips up here that have, one of them has been socketed, the other hasn't, but it looks like both have been unsoldered. So this thing's kind of a mess, but we know it works. Generally, this would be the absolute last step in my chain of doing things because it is a giant waste of time to take the circuit board in and out and in and out to repair things one at a time. If we weren't doing this for Hollywood, I would have gotten the game all the way back together and verified what was and what was not working so I could try to attack as many things at one time to avoid taking the board in and out, just to be efficient, but it's no big deal. Another thing I noticed when taking the game apart was that this connector here, the pin, or the female side connector, the plug, was burnt on J101. J101 is one of the common things you want to check when your game is resetting. This doesn't really pertain to this, but we're going to change this header. J101 takes in power from the transformer. It takes in, like, I think the 9 and the 13 volt AC rails, and the 9 volts that comes in here, I believe, is what gets rectified and turned into 5 volts. So this thing was starting to burn up, and that very well could be a problem this game was having, but since we've never played it, I wouldn't know that it's resetting. So that's something I noticed, and that's something we're going to address while I have the board out. It's likely I will have to take this board out again to fix some other things, but we'll see. So, yeah, does that make sense? Sorta? Was that thorough?
Yeah, that's awesome. Nolan on Twitch said his looks like a Jackson Pollock painting. He's working on a getaway right now.
Getaway.
Nolan asked, if you go all LED on your GI, should you still worry? Or are you good?
Well, if it looks fine, then don't worry about it. But if it's all burnt up and toasty, hey, how about switch to put the big camera on one of these cameras in the head. Let's just show an example for continuity's sake, right? Which one is it? This one? Hey, that's my hand. Okay, check it out. So this is for the back box GI. Do you see this? How burnt it is?
Yeah.
If your connectors look anything like this,
it looks dangerous.
Yeah, if your connectors look like this, your GI probably doesn't work. Again, we'll stop here. I'm gonna keep using GI. GI means general illumination, not gastrointestinal, but I am not going to clarify that anymore. It's just gonna be GI from here on out. If it looks like this, it probably doesn't work. And if this looks like this, you need to take the headers out to replace those on the board. It's just good form. You don't want to do it another way. This connector here is for the playfield GI. That's in my hand. This one has been replaced. It's been replaced with a Crimping stuff connector, but the header hasn't been replaced. So I will probably remove some of these wires just to look at the condition of the pins, because these pins are probably also tarnished. And since those are tarnished, we'll probably re-crimp those as well, just to get it done with and do it right the first time. This is that wire that comes in for the J101. It's probably really hard to see, but do you see how brown it is on this side? This has started to tarnish and get nasty. So we'll also be replacing this connector as well as the header. So
you got a lot of work cut out for you, Kyle.
Yeah, this is the tedious sort of things in pinball, but it's these are very important basics as well. So. Skill level, this is advanced. If this was just replacing a header and replacing a header, or if you're taking it out and installing a new one, it would be a pretty basic thing. But being able to remove damaged components does raise the difficulty level a little bit. I'm going to show you the way to do it, like guaranteed safest possible way to do it, but since these things are damaged, that it's not a certainty that it will come out perfect. So please keep that in mind. Even though this is the safest method to do it, that doesn't mean it's going to be perfect. We still could have damage that is just unavoidable. So all that being said, I have my soldering iron hot, set to 750 degrees, and we are going to start working on these fellers right here. I want to try to get the camera focused and centered, sort of. Yeah, we can kind of see that, right? Does anyone have any questions or concerns or comments?
Is the rocking table for expert level?
The one that's going side to side. Paul put this thing together, so Paul just didn't tighten it down all the way. I need to fix my table a little bit.
That was a good question.
So you can see here, I mean, see how these guys are really burnt even on the backside? The board's burnt too. So the concern is that this pad might be damaged when we try to extract the pin or the fillet. This section here, this is a double-sided board, right? So there are traces on both sides of the board. But this area is, thankfully, it's only single-sided. What generally will happen here is the fillet, which is the piece that is conductive and the solder will flow from the back to the front. If this was a double-sided connection, the fillets in this case are going to be damaged and will likely rip them out of the board. But because we do have a single-sided connection here, it's much easier to repair and address those when that happens. So the way we're going to do this is we are going to get our flux, and we are going to heavily flux the connectors. We're going to work on this guy first. This brush is very stiff. This, again, helps the solder melt. I am not going to be using the solder sucker or the desoldering iron. I'm going to be using my handheld desoldering pump because what we're going to do is we are going to use this pump just to remove the excess solder. We are going to be extracting the pins. I believe we may have done this at some point, but we're going to go over it again because it's important for this lesson to be a whole. We're going to use our flush cutters. And what we'll be doing is we are going to heat the pin, and then we are going to we're going to figure out, where we need to grab, but we will grab the pin with the flush cutters, and we will use the flush cutters while the pin is very hot to pull it out all in one go. That is the safest way to extract these things from damaged holes, to continue causing less damage, if that makes sense. So it's tedious.
Surgery.
So this is actually a really good episode for talking because a lot of this is going to be doing the same thing over and over and over again.
Oh, he got one pin out. She's like pulling teeth. Daniel asked, will you replace those capacitors and bridge rectifiers on the board?
No.
No?
Here's an opinion thing, but I don't subscribe to the just replacing C5 and BR2. Generally, there are a lot of other issues that will cause the games to reset that are not related to C5 and BR2. It is very difficult to remove those components without potentially causing damage, even if you know what you're doing. So until otherwise, unless otherwise we have an issue with that, I'm not going to touch those things.
It looks like you're burning the board.
Got a lot of smoke from the flux. Again, don't breathe this in. It's bad for you.
Don't breathe it in. Don't breathe it in. We do have a few questions from the chat, but
yeah, go for it.
Actually, watching you with this camera setup it's so mesmerizing. It looks like very satisfying to get each pin out.
Oh, it is.
Pulling out splinters.
And it's just got like enough resistance to it where it's very satisfying once you get it out. You have to like yank it and then But so really quick though, when you are doing this, don't rush it. Let the pin get hot, right? As soon as you put if you try to do it with your what are these called? Flush cutters on the pin and heat it up at the same time, your flush cutters are going to be acting as like a heat sink, right? The goal is to get the solder hot and molten, but also get the pin very hot. When the pin gets really hot, it's much easier to pull it out of its tight plastic housing. So the way we need to do this, again, is we need to let it get hot, let the solder melt. I can see the solder melting there. Let it get hot for a little while, put the pliers on, and then it comes out very easily. And that's the best. That's how you know that you've done it just right.
Nice. Let's see. Nolan says this is the same color as his actual toothbrush. That was for the your little flex brush. That little red guy over there.
Oh.
Let's see. PinDaddy41, hey, what's up? Asked, I wonder if that pin is a really common Farrier pin. I've had that one go bad on 2 WPC boards now.
The general illumination pins? I mean, that's like, this is kind of like buy a WPC game. This is the first thing you do.
That's what's going to happen.
90% of the time.
Very common thing. So it's something that we should know how to do.
I mean, it kind of depends too, right? Because like a lot of these games have spent so little time in the arcade, and a lot of these games have been bought up by hobbyists and enthusiasts now, that this has probably been done a lot.
Okay, so now that you removed the pins, now you're sucking the the solder out?
I'm going to suck the solder out. These pads are really big and they're tough, so using something kind of aggressive like this handheld solder pump is okay. You're not going to lift the pins. Now, if we were working on a Bally lamp board or a Bally solenoid driver board, you wouldn't want to use something like this because the traces are very dainty. And it's very easy to damage and pull things up using something this aggressive.
And pro tip from Michael McKenna on Facebook says you have to be careful with pressure on the pad with the iron because it'll deform the pad.
Yep.
Especially at 750 degrees.
Yeah, again, your goal with the soldering iron is to be in there just enough time to do it right. You're not going to try to be in there to burn it. So it's a bit of a feel thing. You really need to get a feel for things when you're doing this sort of a job, but that's why this is a little bit more advanced.
What if my soldering iron doesn't go up to 750 degrees and it only goes up to like 600 or something? Can I still use it, or I should buy a new soldering iron?
No, that's fine. You'll probably just need to keep the iron on the board just a teeny bit longer. I mean, I see a lot of people saying it's like, oh, you can't even work on a pinball game unless you have a 25 watt this many degree. It's like you can really do a lot of this stuff without having a super fancy soldering iron, but you have to learn your tools. You have to learn your equipment before you can do this stuff.
Evan Bookbind, I was literally thinking the same thing watching Kyle right now. He said, I prefer the shorter solder sucker so the spring can reset with the same hand. Watching you cross hands with a hot iron is scaring the crap out of me. I keep being like, ooh.
I could almost do this with my eyes closed at this point. Jeez.
Oh, it came off. Yay.
Yeah, so the reason it was kind of holding on was half because of a bit of solder, but also because of the keying pin. Right? These headers have all the pins, but you cut the one that's the key. So it's still soldered in on the back side, and that was what was holding the housing on. So, and we have a little bit of excess solder still living on this guy up here. So you always want to check both sides. And we'll get that. It's probably, I'll just heat this side, the component side. So since this is a single-sided board, we don't really need to pay too much attention to the upper side of the board here. I don't think we lost a fillet, which is nice. But what I'm going to do, just to be like super thorough and show like best practices. So again, in 10 years, someone can't write a comment and say, but Kyle, you didn't clean the top side of the board. We're going to do it. I'm going to get my fiberglass brush. Be very careful with your fingers around fiberglass shards. It really sucks when they get in your fingers. And what we're going to do is we're just going to gently re-entrain, sort of. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not using the handy-dandy Hako solder sucker gun, right, because you don't have it.
No, I have it. It's just not necessary for this job. The other thing... The reason the Hako works really well is because you can put the nozzle over a component and then the suction will suck the solder away from all sides. The nozzle on that Hako that I have there is not big enough to go around one of these .156 pins. So we would basically have to go bzzz. This just works so much easier, especially since we are extracting or removing the pins by hand. Instead of trying to clear the hole out and rip it all out as an assembly. So honestly, this is how I take out any header now, even if whether it's damaged or not, you always end up with a cleaner result and the time difference is negligible. So what I'm going to do with this fella is just get these shiny again. So I am going to brush in one direction and just like 1-2 pass. We're not going to go, you know, we're just going to kind of 1, 2, 3 passes. I don't know, just until they get shiny. Solder will stick to things that are shiny. We don't need the solder on the top side, but it just, again, we're just being extra thorough here.
I should have totally named this episode something to do with dentistry, pinball dentistry, because now it's like you're cleaning the plaque off the teeth so they could be shiny.
Yeah, kind of.
Pulled out the bad teeth.
I still don't have any flux
teeth.
remover, but I do have some really, really gnarly hand sanitizer that does a good job of removing flux. So before we do that on the back side, which we will, we are going to want to hit especially the damaged, tarnished pads. We're going to clean all of the old flux and nastiness off before we recondition these, right? Look at the pads we just removed, right? They're shiny. They're a little discolored, but they're shiny. Now look at the one right above it on the left side and see how like dull that is. Solder's not going to stick to that at all. So we need to make sure it's like shiny and nice. So
Pez Johnson, he's back for the code. Hey Pez.
Come for the code, stay for the solder smoke.
Stay for the class. He's like, I don't want to learn today. Just give me the code.
Maybe he doesn't need to learn.
I'll put the ticker on. Yeah. Probably not.
I don't know, Pez. What do you need to know? We'll do a class on it or something. Okay. I'm starting to wake up, but I still feel asleep. So sorry again for my lack of bubbly personality today.
The code? There you go.
These are really screwed up, so I'm gonna put my head under here. They're not only are they burnt to hell, but they're also.
Oh, but I didn't read the rest of his comment. Ooh, I'm still out of focus.
Oh, bad.
He broke some play-filled glass.
That's not fun.
I'm sorry for your loss.
So here is a pin. This was probably the worst damaged pin, and we took the fillet with it. Can you see that piece that's like halfway up the pin? Does that come through?
Yes.
So that's part of the fillet. And again, the fillet isn't important on this header, but this is what will happen when you have these nasty pins. So. And these two are the worst out of the whole connector, so. We'll get these guys out. And then I realized, I was thinking, it's like, oh, this won't take too long. But I also realized that me explaining everything I'm doing makes it take like 2 times as long as it should. So there you go. That's what happens when they're really crispy. Everything comes out. So I think we might just spend all day working on this, which is fine.
That sounds great. Michael McKenna said Flux Off has a built-in brush.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I ran out of flux remover, and I just keep forgetting to buy more. It's a dumb excuse, but I need to make a solder order and order some good stuff. So I'll probably buy some Flux Off at the same time. It's expensive.
Yeah. It's just shared a video. Y'all got it breaking on a Twitch stream?
What?
That's crazy. The glass break.
Oh, really?
Maybe. Let's see.
It happens, man.
Oh, maybe that's not what this is.
Actually,
maybe it is. He's loading in the glass.
What'll be nice about this new rig.
I'm over here watching a different Twitch.
I'm watching it. I'm also watching it.
You're working. Oh, yeah, it's Sonic.
Is that World Cup?
Wait. I didn't see it break. What happened?
He's lying.
Did everybody get that?
I know, I don't have sound.
I guess some new flavor for...
I've only broken 2 sheets of glass. Ever. And that makes me feel like it's going to happen again soon. Oh!
Oh, wow. Oh, that should be a GIF. A GIF. We'll make that into a loop for you. If you go to 00.16 seconds on Pez, Johnson's link right there. Oh, it just shatters all over. It just
Oh, it's so
explodes.
sad.
Oh, that's why your face was all like, "Yep, that's pinball for you." Oh, Pez, no.
That's a bummer. I used to really enjoy glass day at the shop. We would always wait till a day where we were grumpy or something, and we'd take all of the old nasty pieces of glass out back, put them in a garbage bag, or cover them on top with the garbage bag, put them in the dumpster, and then get a hammer and just go dink, and poof, they would just shatter. It's so stress relieving. Only problem with these solder suckers is that you got to pull out the solder pellets as they start to form. Get out of here. Throw it on the floor.
Dragger, you got moderated, son. No cussing on our stream, please. Kyle slips up a few times too, and we have to ground him.
I have the mouth of a sailor, so it takes a lot of
This is an educational show of all ages. We do not like to use curse words, even though we're super excited about what we see.
I use it takes a lot of restraint and mental capacity for me not to use words that I shouldn't be using. My favorite conjunctions generally are not safe for work. Okay, we got that.
All right.
I'm gonna yank out this, yank out the keying pin that's still sticking in here. Maybe it'll come out easy. Maybe it's gonna fight. Let's see. Hey, there it goes. Nope, it stayed in.
Oh no. So now what?
Oh, it's just kind of flopping there. I pulled the housing away from the key.
Lower.
Lower?
I can't see it. Oh no.
Oh, now it's hard, so it's not going to go. Oh, hold on. I got to heat it up and get that sucker out.
So you got to heat it up again and pull it out.
Yeah, well, I could probably just let gravity do it.
Pull it out.
Flick it with my finger a few times. Oh, that's hot. There it goes. Okay. So this
Bowling
is
for picture tunes? What?
What's up?
Soundman819 on Twitch says bowling for picture tunes. I have a video on YouTube on that. I don't even know what that is.
I did not hear you. What did you say? Bowling for picture tubes? What?
Yeah.
Oh, what? Are you bowling old picture tubes? That sounds fun. Throwing bowling balls at TVs? I'm getting a paper towel. I didn't come totally prepared for this episode.
Hello, Bad Out of Hell by Meatloaf. We are working on a GI header cable and board repair work. So fixing those burnt pins.
Ish.
The infamous WPC burnt pins on the GI.
So if I was totally prepared, and if I was like actually a professional, not just someone pretending to know what they're doing, I would have had my flux off, which is in like a spray can, and I usually keep a second. I use like an old nasty toothbrush to brush flux on,
Crunchy.
and then I'll have another just as nasty, but it would be a flux off brush. Toothbrushes are very good at getting in and just scrubbing and cleaning. I'm going to use a paper towel and this hand sanitizer that smells like straight Everclear. It has worked for me in the past.
Don't drink it, Kyle.
I mean, it might be.
Mark Spence says, I'm geeking out over this. Thanks.
Hey, glad you are enjoying it. So this is just taking off the flux. You don't want to leave flux on boards. It's just bad form.
Yeah, clean it up. That's awesome. Nolan has a GI question. Why does my GI dim when I hit the flippers?
Because the flippers draw a ton of current, and you probably have a old pinball machine. So that's kind of just something that happens. The flippers pull a lot of juice, and what you're seeing is the flippers pulling all of that juice, and you'll notice the GI dims a bit. If it dims more than just a bit, that could be all sorts of problems that would take many, many episodes to go over. When you start to troubleshoot something like one of these games resetting, PinWiki has it listed out exactly the way I do it. Instead of, again, just jumping for C5 and BR2, you basically start at the transformer and start looking for burnt and tarnished pins from the transformer back up to the head. So it depends on what game and how badly it's dimming. But if it's just a teeny bit, it's normal. Don't worry about it.
Nolan asked, would a new transformer be a possible fix?
No. Your transformer's not bad, and transformers rarely ever go bad. It's something in between the transformer and the board, right? Or it could be something on the board. There could be a lot of things. But that's one thing a lot of people ask. It's like, well, why do you have to solder flippers on, right? Or like, why aren't there connectors to take everything off? It's like, while connectors are very convenient, connectors are also weak points. They're also very expensive to manufacture or on an assembly line, right? But you know, Williams kind of did that later in the game where they started using those spade connectors to attach the flipper coils and stuff. But anytime you have a connector inline, it has the opportunity to become a failure point. So that is why, again, when we're searching for like voltage draws and drops, we always start with the connectors. And I guarantee you, a lot of you, if you go and look at your WPC games, you'll notice like your 6 volt or whatever, 6.3, 6.5 volt little connectors with all the white and yellow wires next to the transformer. They might be brown. It might look like a marshmallow. So that's why connectors are bad. Sometimes. But connectors are also great because they save us a lot of time. I'm going to now just take this brush and make these shiny again. Remember, this guy was the worst right here, and it actually doesn't look that bad since we've melted off all that nasty old solder and fluxed it up, or flux removered it and cleaned it up. So, but
Nice.
we still want it to be shinier. It could be shinier.
Yep. Thank you, Pez. Pez ordered probably some pinball glass. Good luck. I hope
All right.
you have less breaks in your future.
Some of these still have a little bit of residual solder on them, so I'll probably try to clean them up a little bit before we install new headers, but just gonna shine these suckers up.
Always be shining. Yeah. It's like always be tightening, always be shining, always be cleaning up your flux paste.
Yeah,
Right?
always clean your flux off. It's just best practices. This fiberglass brush is almost dead. I have to replace the little brushy part soon. Okay.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome.
We're going to move this away from our working towel and brush the little fiberglass guys off.
Yeah, onto the floor.
Yep, right onto the floor.
It's the best place for it.
Always.
He's
'Cause
going to vacuum later.
I'll vacuum later. Okay, so what we want to do next, let's introduce you to the parts.
Flux.
There's so many different ways to do this. The way I do this, because I haven't ever had my own shop. I always work out of my box. And even when I was working for the guy in the shop, the amazingly well-stocked shop we had, a lot of the times you really only buy, what camera? You have the same, there we go. I really only buy these connectors in one size. You could buy them in every feasible size, but I could also buy them in a 20 position and cut them to whatever size I need. So that just means it's easier for you to stock your toolbox, and you don't need to order each specific size. If you would like to just order the specific size, they come smaller. So order what you want. But when I order these Crimping stuffs, for the most part, I will generally just order like a 24-pin male and these 20-pin females. These are things we sell. CM15624, so connector male, 156 spacing, 24 pins. CF connector female, 156, 20 pins. So these are what I use. And what we can do is we can get our flush cutters. We can figure out how many positions this is. I think there are 11 positions, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yay.
Be a catastrophe if you cut it too short.
Come in here,
What do you
figure
do
out.
if you cut it too short? Is there a fix?
No, you just get another one and use that one as a too short at some point. So now what we can do is we have an 11 position
Flash
connector
cutters.
to stick right on in. What we want to do is we definitely want to test fit. Sometimes the solder from the top side will flow, or from the bottom will flow to the top, and it will make it difficult to insert the pin, and we don't want to force it. This one goes in pretty easy.
Yay! I bet that's a very satisfying thing.
It's nice when you get them in.
New pins and it just drops in real nice.
Oh yeah, it feels good. It's like ASMR sort of stuff, but different. We've got the original header housing has a locking ramp, or this is for like they call it, they have different kinds of housings, and some of them have a little lip on the side, and that's called a locking ramp. So these will like clip in, and they'll kind of be held by this ramp right here. It doesn't matter. Most of the time your crimping stuff connectors don't have a locking ramp, so don't worry. They'll work the same either way. If you use a locking ramp without a locking bit on the header, it's fine. If you use one of these without a locking ramp on this guy, it's fine. This is just what Williams got cheapest when they were building these boards. And I think the original IDC connectors do mate with them well. So,
do you like the locking ramp?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter either way. I'm going to install the top one first, because what we're going to want to do, I like to do this once it's soldered in, but what we're going to do is we'll solder this guy in, and then we will get our flush cutters and cut the keying pin off once it's soldered in. We could also do that while it's on the bench, but I just do it this way because...
Wait, explain what the keying pin is again?
So every single one of these connectors has a pin missing for the most part, right? Let's look at these guys over here. You see, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, nothing, 6, 7. So it's a 7-pin connector, but pin 5 is the key. So inside of your housing, you will have a blocking off pin here, so in one of these holes, so you can't plug them in backwards. There are only 1 or 2 positions that you can plug in backwards on these WPC boards. And one of them is the GI, and it doesn't matter where you plug it in. The other one, I think, are up here for the flashers, so you have to be careful. But once you've kind of figured out where everything goes, you don't need to label your connectors when you unplug them and stuff. What I like to do here, when we go back into resolder, again, this is a single-side board, so we don't need to flux this header, but I'm going to, just because let's be extra thorough. The flux will help the solder stick to these pads. We'll just get the brush we were using that had a little bit of flux on it before and just brush it over.
Is that Nolan's toothbrush?
It's Steve's toothbrush. Can't brush your teeth anymore. No, I don't know. This is kind of sticking in, but what I generally do when I'm resoldering a header is I will hold, I'm going to call this left because it's my left. On your camera, it's going to be right. But I'm going to put my fingers under these pins here on the left and make sure that it's sitting flush, right? I'm going to pressure it towards the board. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some solder on the tip of the iron, and I'm going to tack it in on the side. I'm going to then move my finger away from this pin, tack it in here, turn it over, make sure it's sitting flush, and then go to town. That way we don't solder the header connector in, cattywampus or lift it up on one side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean the tip. I'm going to tin it, put a little bit of solder on the tip itself, and then I am going to hold it on this pin with just enough to kind of like tack weld it in place. That's not enough solder to hold it in like proper, but it's enough to hold it in place, right? I'll do the same thing again here. Tack it in place. Now we can turn it over and we can see that the header is sitting nice and flush with the board. It's
Nice.
happy.
It's happy.
So now we can just go to town.
And then you accidentally put it on the spool wire and it bends.
I've been putting it on the solder to keep it up. It's easier to work on like this than it is like when it's all the way down. So And that's the other thing is I'll use like my spool of solder like this. If I don't have it mounted to its holder I generally have, I'll use the spool of solder to like hold the headers in place when that's possible too, right? If you rest the header you're trying to solder in on the spool of solder, it'll hold it up. So then there's only so much you can do with 2 hands, right?
Pro tip. IndiePins asked, what board are we working on today?
We've got a Williams WPC driver board.
For Indianapolis 500.
Mm-hmm. A lot of these like weird little techniques come from when I'm trying to repair games on people's houses, right? If this was at a customer's house, I wouldn't have a bench. I wouldn't have a lot of my bench-related tools, so I would most likely be doing this with a rag put on the bottom of the glass with the board resting, you know, one of these edges resting against the lockdown bar with this spool of solder there to give it that angle to hold it in place. So that is why I do a lot of things the way I do them.
Life hacks. Pinball life hacks. That could be a hashtag. Oh, Missy Lark came in the chat to say cattywampus is the best word ever.
I love that word. My old coworker, Jeannie, she used to think it was so hilarious whenever I'd use that word.
Cattywampus. What's the origin story of that?
My auto shop teacher in high school used to use it all the time, so now it's just become part of my everyday vocabulary. What we're trying to do here is, again, we're gonna, even though this board has been kind of hacked, the goal is to make it look like no one has ever been here, so we're trying to do this as factory looking as possible. We're not blobbing on a gigantic mountain of solder, contrary to what you may think. That actually does not create a better connection. Trying to blow this away from me and also hold my breath at the same time, which is not easy.
We need to get you a fan.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Do they make silent fans?
Yeah. Okay, almost done with this guy. We're going to go back in here and apply a little bit more solder to the one that we attacked in on this side too. And let's see, I haven't done this for a while, so let's see if I suck at it. It's okay. It's a little bit too much solder, just like a teeny bit.
Oh, wait.
But we're looking for these teeny little mountains, right? If we look at the way that these boards are soldered from the factory is someone isn't sitting here and soldering each of these things individually like what I did, right? The way these things are done in manufacturing is all the components are stuffed in the top, and then the boards are lowered into a solder bath. And they sit in the solder bath, and the solder wicks up, you know, through the board to get everywhere it needs, and then it's lifted out. So that is why these boards are done super, super uniform. And that's why you get factory connections that look like this. My connections here use a bit more solder than a factory connection, but that's kind of what you're aiming for, is a nice little volcano. So, yeah, nice. I think that's okay. We're going to come in here with the flush cutters and cut the keying pin. Williams did, they marked each pin that is the key, right? So again, J120, J121 are the same exact connector. You could plug either of your general illumination connectors into either and it's fine. But you see this little arrow?
Yeah.
That's your keying pin. So let's look at this plug here, J131. You see how you've got the arrow there and that's the pin that's cut away? So that's how I know which pin to cut away. And I'm going to do it now.
But on that J120, there was other 2 lines on the left-hand side.
So what those are is those are your pin.
I'm a noob.
Those are your pin layouts, right? So here's pin 1, and there's pin 11. And that's how you, when you look at the manual to figure out what goes into each one, that's how you number them. Generally, they're numbered left or right to left. That's kind of an electronic standard, I think. But yeah, so in this case, pin number 4 is the keying pin. So we're going to snip that guy. When you snip these guys, they will go flying and they will hurt. So what I'm going to do here, pro tip, get your flush cutters on the pin, put something over it and kind of surround it and give it a snip. And that way it flies into the towel and not into your face. Ask me how I learned to do that.
In your eyeball. Good thing you wear glasses. Sheesh.
Yeah, seriously. So, yeah, and make sure you find it too, right? You don't want this thing sliding and shorting out a transistor somewhere and lodging itself in. So make sure you get it. So anyways, we're going to rinse and repeat that with the other connector down here. Are we learning anything? Is this?
Yeah. Colin Baxter says you need to play the Mountain song from Jane's Addiction while soldering.
That would be fun.
Or at least that's what he needs to do.
I'd be cool. I haven't listened to Jane's Addiction in a long time. I'd be totally down to put that on right now. But it would make it hard for me to talk. My voice is already shot for some reason.
Yeah, Nolan said the arrow being the key was new to me.
Yeah.
It's a cool little tip.
I mean, here's the thing though too, right? I know for a fact that that is done correctly, but don't trust it, right? You don't want to do all this work and then go to find that you accidentally snipped the wrong one. When in doubt, just double check with your connector, right? To make sure it's like, yeah, it's this many in, right? So, or look at your manual. Manuals are a lot of the times in certain locations, it might be hard to find them. We'll give you a pinout and tell you, it's going to be, you'll look at, okay, driver board section. Okay, J120, it's going to be purple, yellow, red, key, and then it will tell you what each position is. So you just have to be careful, right? Because a lot of times I always tell people, look at the manual, but there are instances where the manuals are wrong, and there are instances sometimes when the boards are screened wrong. But I would generally trust the board over a manual. Try to come up with multiple data sources to figure out what's right.
I like TechBeck's quote.
What is it?
Check twice, cut once.
Yes. Yeah, I used to watch a ton of, what was that show? I mean, This Old House with my dad, but there's this guy on PBS, Norm Abram. I forgot what his show was called, but, he's just like a nice old man that does woodworking, and he was always, measure twice, cut once. So.
Measure twice, cut once. I love that. That's awesome. Oh, we do have a question from Paul Gusek on Facebook.
All right.
Says he saw on your board the J115 right by the fuses. What causes those pins to burn? Is it just machine time on, or what would make the J115 right by the fuses?
Those ones aren't burnt, but I do see.
Where is it? Can you show us?
Yeah, it's this guy here. I mean, they are a little bit tarnished, right? I mean, that's common. But the thing is like we're looking for pins that actually have lost what's called their plating, right? Let me see if I can find the key pin that we have a new one right here. Okay, brand new pins. Shiny, handsome, super tarnished, nasty pin. If your pins look like this and they're actually like very discolored, that's what you need to change. If they're just a little bit hazy like that's okay. That's normal. Is it ideal? No. But is it worth your time going in here and changing this connector? No. It generally isn't.
He said, what if it's like they are on his? So what would be the reason?
Okay. So I was going to say, but that is the GI.
That's a good reference. Now we all know what we're talking about.
Yep. So on this board, this is the general illumination in. So this is like all the AC voltages coming into the board from the transformer, I think. Don't quote me on that. But it is very common on older Williams games. I think basically everything from like Twilight Zone prior, that was very common for these to burn. And that is just what it is. These guys start to burn, and that puts a lot more resistance on the that circuit, right? And then that resistance kind of starts going backwards through components, and this thing starts to burn too. So a lot of times, if we were working on an older game, like the Getaway that's right over there, or any other early WPC game, a lot of the times those are burnt also. And that's a complicated one to replace because the wires are like doubled up. So a wire will go into one position. Oh, it's on that camera now. It'll go into like one position and then it will skip one and go to another. And that's kind of an advanced crimping technique that we will do a little bit of today if we have time. But I know that I did do an episode once where me and Steve were doing some crimping techniques, and I showed how to double up pins like that. So, long story short, if your J115 is burnt, that's also because of this. So on some older games, you have to do it all. Anyways, you can see, I mean, even these fuse holders are kind of tarnished, right? Put it on the other camera, will you?
Yeah, I will.
These things are kind of burnt too. So before I'm done, I might want to pop all these fuses out and just make sure that the fuse clips aren't super tarnished and nasty. These ones look okay, but again, shiny on shiny is good conductivity. That's
is
what we're
the
looking
only
for.
way to fix tarnished pins to replace them?
Yep.
Or can I clean it with something?
Nope. Absolutely not worth your time to do it that way, man. It's just I kind of screwed up because I was doing 3 things at once. It's not worth it to. I want to use an expression I shouldn't use on camera. It's not worth it to do it halfway. You want to do it right and do it one time.
That was a great way of explaining it.
You can send it, and you could send it to anyone that says that they can work on a pinball board. If they cannot do this job, don't send the board to them. But that being said, like this is very basic for a lot of component level repair people. So it is something that you should do because again, your game was in an arcade forever, and the pins burnt out because it was running those incandescent lamps forever. In your house, it is not going to be on nearly as much as it ever has been, and in the rest of its prior life, you won't have this issue again. So just fix it.
Fair enough. Have you ever worked on or seen the factory test bench for board tests?
Yeah.
That's a question from Daniel.
Yeah, Daniel, we actually have a lot of them here, and I was thinking it might be a fun video to do and bring some out. We have all the old Bally ones, and I actually want to repair the old Bally ones to get them working. It would be very fun. They're kind of useful, but it's not that useful, right? I've got pinball games that I can use this test, but we have all the old Bally ones. We have a Stern, or it's an old Sega White Star, I think it's a White Star. We have a White Star test jig. We have a Bally 6803 test jig. We have a Stern Sam test jig, I believe. And we also, I think we have a WPC one, but I don't know. I don't remember.
Wait, you have a 6803 test jig? Does that mean you would be able to test it and figure out why my sound is weird?
Yeah. Well, I could also put your hard body board into our hard body, or I think it's the same board that's in my Lady Luck even, so.
You've never offered this service to me.
Yes, I did. I said bring it.
Oh, yeah.
Let me fix it. Come on. That board you might be able to test on a bench too. Bench testing would be hooking up the correct voltages to get the computer to run. And then we could use an oscilloscope to look for sound waves being produced. Or if we're lucky, I don't remember if you could do it with that board, but you can also just hook a speaker up to it and try to trigger a sound. So, soundboard repair is fun. It takes me a long time. I'm not great at all of them. Some of them I can fix very easily. Other ones are kind of
I just know how many projects you have, so I'm very wary to bring you my board and then never play hard body again.
We'll fix it. I don't have that many projects. I mean,
a show out of it.
I kind of do. I just don't spend time working on my own games very much anymore.
You're a busy guy.
But Jungle Lord, that's coming next. My Sea Witch project, that needs to happen as well. Okay, I'm going to cut this guy off. And then now I'm also very quickly, I'm not going to go over the whole rigmarole again, but while I have the board out, I'm going to repair this connector as well, the J101. Really quick. It doesn't look too bad, but I have enough cut pieces right now that I'm just going to do it. And I want to ensure that this old beat game, the guy that owns this game isn't going to come knocking on my door saying, hey, it's resetting, and you did the work, so you get to fix it. Okay.
You just offended Steve.
I'm sorry, Steve.
He said, "Don't forget about Baywatch."
Oh, that's Steve. Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about Bird Talk. No, Baywatch is coming too. I just need to buy that color DMD. I need the
I
motivation.
thought Santa was bringing it for you this year. What?
We'll see. Santa Claus said that those gifts might be on hold because I just bought a house. So we'll see.
Party pooper.
Santa Claus is kind of a party pooper this year, but I get
See,
it.
I can do this. Look at that Baywatch right there.
It's so nice.
Sorry, I cropped it out, Midge.
Baywatch will be fun because that game is all apart. So we'll get to do a little bit of exploratory rebuilding, some troubleshooting. The game runs, thankfully. It's just got a bad dot matrix.
Little sneak peek.
I need to do Sea Witch, but I need to send. One of my friends gave me a playfield he bought in 1980 from his distributor for Sea Witch because that was his favorite pinball machine he had in the arcade he owned. Then he dug it out one day and gave it to me. So I need to get that thing clear coated because it's gorgeous. It's also missing a lot of parts. I have like half of a Sea Witch.
It'll be a fun project. Magic Ditto says, "Congrats, Kyle,
Hey, thanks.
for getting the house." I'm guessing.
It has room for pinball, so that will be fun. I'll bring a couple
It
games
looks
home because it
very
doesn't
cute.
seem like I will have. Probably wouldn't be putting any games on location during a pandemic. Won't earn much money. Don't want to encourage people to be outside too much.
Yeah, absolutely. Nolan asked, "Do you use auto clear?"
Auto clear? Oh,
Auto clear.
in regards to the playfield, I will not be doing that job. I would rather send someone who is very skilled in that sort of thing to do the job than me doing it personally. I have clear coded a playfield before, and it came out okay. But this is a where I know that you can get brand new Sea Witch playfields nowadays. I know that what's his face in Canada has done them, and I believe CPR is also going to be doing them soon too. But this is original, and I kind of like that. And I want to have a little damage repaired on it, and then have. I think I'm going to send it to Ron Kruzman and have him redo it for me. So. I've clear coated some kind of damaged playfields that I've touched up before, and it's just not fun. I don't enjoy doing it.
Being attacked by my niece right now. Here, tell everyone how much you love pinball.
Yeah, how much?
A little.
What?
A medium.
A
Okay,
medium.
that's fine.
She plays more video games. Tisk tisk.
You have a lot of years to turn medium into a lot. So.
And she just punched you, Kyle.
Oh my goodness.
I like how she's just popping in and out because of my green screen. She
All
likes
right.
fighting games.
We got this guy good. I'm gonna cut the key out, and so what time is it? How much time have we spent doing this?
An hour and 20 minutes.
Okay, we can jump over to the head and do a little bit of crimping. We'll have some time to do
Yeah,
it.
let's do it. Oh, Daniel said, "I have 2K clear for playfield, same as automotive stuff." And
Nice.
then Glow Melly said, "We use an auto body guy to do all of our clear coding in our arcade."
Oh, cool. Yeah, it's not something I enjoy too much, so I try to keep doing what I do to what I enjoy the most. So, one thing that I will do before we go, one cause of a problem in the reset is this is your 5-volt regulator right here.
I can't see.
And this connection, the actual outside of the case is part
Oh,
of
look.
the
Is that the
connection,
video?
right? It rolls through to these traces on the back of the board. I have found that just tightening these nuts down has solved some reset issues on some games. So while I have this out, just for giggles, I am going to hit this with my 5/16" nut driver and really try to tighten these nuts down just a bit, and they turned about 1/8 of a turn each. So that's handy and dandy. Let's bring these. I did bring Trifurcon pins this time. I generally do not like using these, but I know all of you do, and I am going to try and see if I can change my mind on them. So let's move cameras, and I'm going to carry the board over, and we'll see what we can do. You trying to get in on the action still? Let me see. I'm going to try to move this camera too. Let me try hanging the board first.
A view of you.
My butt? Let's see. I'm going to try to hang the board, and then I'll move the camera over in just 1 second. Make some room.
Oh, wow, this is weird. I think new green cam disconnected.
Really?
Hold on. I'm going to try to bring it back in.
Okay. Yeah, let me just get this.
We care. Blah blah blah.
That's what most of my talking sounds like to most people, right? Blah, blah, blah.
Ow. Wait, where did it go?
It's still plugged in.
Oh, wait. Sorry, I have a 7-year-old on.
VPX modder, I'm
6-year-old.
repairing a jungle lord. It's missing parts and was sitting in a
almost
shed.
7, though.
Is there a chance it will start to smoke when it's put together? Yes. There's very many chances that your game will start to smoke when you put it back together. But depending on what you need, I have a jungle lord now, so I could possibly help you find or identify things you might be missing. Okay, I moved this camera, so now you might be able to see my face. Ta-da! Let me get a...
Walk house setting up. This is my niece, Aiko. She's not a pinball wizard yet, but she loves playing video games. What's your favorite video game right now? Super Mario Odyssey? Did you beat it yet? No? Better get to work.
I haven't played that game either.
I don't know why.
Yeah, so check this out, right? This, what cameras are working? This one? So this connector that is burnt, right? This is a Crimping Stuff Molex connector, right? So
It's super
what
burnt.
someone did was they just replaced the connector, the original IDC, the insulation displacement connector,
Oh, that's
put
not
those things
good.
on the board that had those tarnished connectors, and this is what happened. So
It's not
again,
working.
you can get it to work by replacing these, but this will not take long to happen again. So that being said, before we start doing this, just to be thorough, I'm going to screw the board down. We're going to get it back in place. I've made sure that, well, actually, I'm going to double make sure that I didn't lock any connectors behind the boards because that's annoying. And we'll start plugging things back in really quick. I love these boards because they're easy to take out, even though they have a bazillion plugs.
Oh, did you read IndiePin's comment when you were looking at the chat?
No, but should I?
Requested, please restate the motivation for this repair.
Because the general illumination connectors were badly burnt, and well-lit pinball machines are more fun to play than dim, dank ones. So we have to repair these damaged, tarnished connectors before I will ever feel good about turning this game on. So, let's see. I'm going to start plugging stuff in really quick, and then we will get to our connectors. I just don't like having things unplugged because they get in the way.
It's a good reason. Mark Spence was asking if there's a YouTube channel that we'd recommend that teaches how to repair motherboards. He wants to fix the music on his Donkey Kong. Anyone in the chat now?
Probably. Donkey Kong, I really dislike working on those that did, I don't know, I'm just not into video game repair as much. It frustrates me more than anything, but it is fun. It is rewarding. I'm not sure though. I mean, there's great communities online. Whoops.
Has anyone played Super Mario 35 yet? Wait, no, it's Mario Brothers 35. What is it called? It's on the Switch, and you all battle 35 people battle at the same time.
Whoa.
The original Super Mario Brothers.
That
Oh
sounds...
yeah, John's Arcade would be a good show to check. I think he does board repair, Cord Tepez, on YouTube. He arcade stuff as well as pinball. So, yeah.
The hard thing is identifying like
recommendation,
where
guys.
the issue is, right? And if it's like component or logic level stuff. A lot of times, I mean, just replacing electrolytic capacitors will fix some audio issues, but it could always be something else.
Good question. We love this question. Kyle,
Hi.
what do you think of NVRAM?
I hate
I'm
it.
hearing
Never
issues
use
on
it.
this.
No, NVRAM's amazing. Every pinball machine, if you are putting batteries back into your pinball machine, you deserve some lashes. There are very few reasons why you should keep batteries in your pinball game. Can you see me?
Something important.
Batteries are bad. NVRAM's great. The only problem with NVRAM is it does take a bit of skill to install, which makes it harder for a lot of people that don't have this skill set. Well, how's this camera angle? Is it too low?
It's kind of cool. Dutch. Try it.
It makes me look like a giant, right? No, you can't even see me. Hold on.
Tilt it up.
And tilt it that way. Long story short, if you have the ability to put NVRAM in your game, do it. If you do not, send it to someone who can. There are very few reasons why batteries should stay in the game. One of them is for like the 6 games that have a midnight mode, but if you don't care, then put NVRAM in it. We've done it on a couple games here on this show.
Yeah, check our archives because we have a repair video on how to do that NVRAM installation.
Yeah, and it also depends on what game, right? If you're putting it in a Stern White Star or a Data East game, it's plug and play. You just pop the old RAM out and put the Ramtron in. So.
Oh yeah, and Adams brought up that it takes away your date and time, and
Yeah.
he likes remote battery holders with the lithium batteries.
Yeah, that's fine too, but that's also batteries, right? You still need to replace them at some point. Sorry, I can't count and talk at the same time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
20.
10, 11. Shh.
6.
Shh. So yeah, I
It's
mean,
a little sister, yeah. So
there
that's what I do.
there are downsides, but they're not. I think the upsides to it like greatly outweigh any of the downsides.
For sure. And you were even saying like sometimes pins that are still in their original box that have batteries in it, the batteries might corrode all over the board.
Oh yeah, because it's an age thing. It's not like a usage thing, right? I just found that like my TV that I use as a computer monitor, I bought that thing like 5-6 years ago. And of course, right, what do you never do? The controller works. Why would you change the batteries? And I picked it up one day and there's a little bit of white dust under it. And I was like, oh crap. Thankfully it was fine, but I took
This
that.
is battery acid slime. Do you
This,
guys know where that quote's from?
That Dale Jr. right there, that I took that thing out of the box like a week ago. It's been in the box for 20 years, since 2007, and the batteries hadn't leaked. So we got real lucky there, but yeah. Okay, this crimp job is terrible. Someone who did this really had bad form. Hey, can you put the big camera on the... Which one? Oh, is green cam working or no?
It was not. Let me try to get it back up.
You see these crimps here? Do you see how they put the insulation side? You see how the wire, stripped but bare wire, is extending past the connector? It might not focus.
There you go.
Oh, there we
Maybe. Oh yeah, come down. Nice.
go. See how we've got bare stripped wire coming out of the connector?
Focus.
That's bad. That's bad form. You lose lots of points for doing it that way. They're very weak when you crimp them that way as well. So we do not want to do that. We are going to crimp ours correctly. So what we're going to do is, I like to do this just one at a time. I'm going to remove one wire from this housing and then replace it into the new housing one at a time. That way you have a lot lower chance of doing things wrong. So what we're going to do, and these wires are kind of crisp and discolored. I'm going to start with this guy. We're just going to cut it. But what we can do is I'll strip some of this, right? Like I just cut it right at the connector. I'm going to strip some. But what's going to happen is we're still going to have like some tarnished, nasty wire. Do you see how how dull that wire is there?
Mm-hmm.
That we'll kind of run into the same principle that we will with a tarnished connector, this will have extra resistance. So sometimes, again, if we have the space to do it, we have plenty of space with this harness. We're going to cut this back a little bit, and we're going to try to get like some nice, fresh, shiny wire. Generally, you can tell where it's going to start to get fresh by bending it. And do you see how we have like a cup, like 3-4 millimeter space here before it starts to bend? I want to cut it like right here. And I know that once we cut right here, we will have some fresher wire. I also just wiggled my towel and a bunch of pins went flying, so don't do that. We can strip this now. And we have shiny wire, but I also kind of mangled it, so I'm going to strip it again. I need to sharpen these strippers. There we go. They actually move now, and they're a bit shinier. So that's kind of a little bit proud. We don't need that much stripped back, but this isn't going to be a crimping episode. We talked about that at length in another episode, so I'm going to kind of just run through this. But the one thing I will emphasize is what I was criticizing the last ones for. You've got two crimps. You've got this one here.
Okay.
What's up?
Oh, I was just asking you to go lower, and then you did.
You've got one crimp here. You've got two sections. So one section, the forward section towards the bent part of the pin, is for your wire, and the back pin is for the insulation. This is supposed to crimp down on the insulation to make this a very secure piece. If you just strip a long piece of wire, this really doesn't crimp anything, and it's weak, and the wires can be pulled out very easily. So when you crimp these things together, you want to make sure that the big crimps are around the rubber insulation and not the wire. There's a big, long episode we did on that. I recommend watching it.
Do you remember what episode that was? So I can pull some pin tips from it.
That might have been the best episode ever.
Yeah, they tend to like the episodes that I don't show up on. Pull pin. Crimping. I do too.
Wow. The love is real here, folks.
I'm just kidding.
Oh, I didn't bring any keying pins, but you know what? Let me grab one from my toolbox really quick. Sometimes it's a good idea to just key the connector from the get-go so you do not forget or you start putting things in the wrong spot. I'm going to look here at the header, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So 3 from the right. And we're going to insert our keying plug here. And this will allow it so we cannot plug this thing into any other 11-pin connector that doesn't have the key in that spot. So.
Oh, that's cool.
Yes.
I get it.
I'm just going to kind of rinse and repeat here. So sometimes when I'm doing this on like a Bally game, if we have a bunch of bad connectors on a Bally game, sometimes what I'll do is, since the spacing isn't uniform, I'll instead of cutting the wires at the base here, I'll cut them like a few millimeters back so I can see what color wire it used to be. So just in case you get a little distracted between crimping and stuff, you can be like, oh, okay, so the yellow and red one used to go here, not here, so I need to make sure I put it in the right spot. These are some more advanced tips that I'd like to do once we get a Bally game to work on.
Wicked Pizza Pinball Pit. Nice name. Asked, is there a reason you're not using a ratcheting crimper? Someone else mentioned a ratcheting crimper earlier.
Yeah, I don't know. I want to get one day, but this has been my tool for 10 years, and I've never need to replace it. and I'm totally fine using this thing. So I just haven't gotten one. They're expensive, and
What makes using a ratcheting crimper better?
it will hold the pin for you and make it so you don't need to do like balancing acts. I don't know. They're handy. Basically,
Nice.
I'm cheap and poor, so every $3 I don't spend on a ratcheting crimper means I could buy another pinball game, right?
Yeah.
I'll justify it however I can. I'll try to do some mental gymnastics around it. Oh, that one slipped out. See, if I had a ratcheting crimper, I wouldn't have just wasted that pin.
Oh, was the crimping tool during the Data East Turtles? Yeah, and I guess Midge, I can just check because I think you've filled in on the Turtles and then a Fire episode. And then I think the Fire episode was actually the remote battery pack episode, right?
I think we were doing... I think we did it on one of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle episodes. I think Steve's right. So now, there was a...
Colin Baxter said that tool is $20 on Amazon.
The ratcheting ones? Yeah, but I guess the thing is like, I want to buy a good one. I'd rather have like
Yeah, he'll come up with all the excuses all day long. You ain't gonna convince him.
I'll get one day. I'd rather have a good
Maybe
tool
someone
instead
gets
of
it
the
for him for
cheapest
Christmas.
version of that tool. I don't know.
Mm.
I'd rather if the difference is like Harbor Freight $12 tool or like professional grade $250 tool, I'd rather buy the $250 one even though I'm poor.
Snooty tools. Yep. It's good.
You know, the thing is, they are my livelihood. Well, they were for a long time, so...
Yeah, absolutely.
You gotta
That's
have
like
things
if you
that can
asked me
perform.
if I would buy this cheap camera versus, you know, the more expensive one that I want.
Yeah, right?
Like, I can justify a million reasons why this expensive one is better.
Yeah, and that's the thing
and then
is
I'll shoot
like...
on my iPhone.
I realize that the ratcheting guy is just like superior in every way, but this hasn't failed me yet, right? So one day.
Can you crimp on camera? You're like slightly out of frame.
Oh, I'm
and
sorry.
I just want to see the money shot.
I had the camera set up all super slick when we did that episode on turtles, but
I'll pull some pin tips from it for sure.
I'm just kind of copying this one now. Since there was a space here, I just kind of going through and just making sure I'm getting them in the right order. So starting from the other side, I'm just kind of flying through this bit though. This is a good Q&A time. We can keep talking about why I don't have a ratcheting crimper, but...
Well, you can get a $35 one from Pololu, which works awesome, but it's not gold-plated or anything like that.
Man, those gold-plated ones, I hear that those things are just better, so maybe I gotta wait for... No, I'm just kidding.
Soundman says, go fund me for Kyle's ratchet.
No. Maybe...
And Midge says, expensive wine tastes better. Great analogy.
He's right. This is why Steve and I get along so wonderfully.
Colin says, he'll drink Miller Lite but won't buy a cheap ratchet crimper. Ladies and gentlemen, Kyle Spiteri. Come on.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
That is very true.
We embrace him.
That is very true.
Oh, yes. 2021, Adams, we will get our magnetic bottle openers to stick onto your coin doors.
Yeah, we got to do that. That'll be fun. I kind of thought it would be fun to do a beer koozie also. I know Emoto
that
said,
would be
yeah, we
cute.
should do that. We'll figure out a time to do it.
I have a list. Every time you guys give me ideas, I put it on the list.
As long as the beer koozie doesn't have like my face on it, that's great.
Yeah. Kyle, do you keep your pinky up while you're crimping? No.
Oh yeah, of course. But you know, here's the thing though, right? All of this about Miller High Life and using a cheap crimper while I'm also using like the cheapest possible version of the tool. Where's all I love this thing. This is my...
YouTube, Escovy said, fancy boy.
Ah, yes. See, she knows I'm fancy. Okay. So since these are kind of a couple different lengths, and that really bothers me, but these ones were really burnt, I am going to do a little bit of... I'm going to see if I can try to even out the length of the harness just a teeny bit, but these zip ties are rather tight.
Yeah.
They're not too tight. Can I push them through? No. What I might do is I might put a zip tie here. I don't know. I'm not sure how to make it look pretty. It's kind of bothering me.
You have to take off the other zip ties, right?
Yeah, but
and redo all of them.
I don't want to do that. I want it to look pretty, but I also don't want to spend too much time on it because the only person that's ever going to be bothered by it is me, so whatever. Anyways, for now, we have a new connector, so that's lovely.
Yay!
Yay!
Good job.
We do need to do this one, or we need to check this one. But since I saw this person's crimping skills, I also kind of don't trust this one. But the playfield also did have LEDs in it, albeit they were really crappy LEDs. That probably saved this, so I'm just going to sample a pin here. I'm gonna press down on the locking tab and yank on the wire. See if I can get this guy to come out.
Chris Shaw asked, why doesn't Marco have the best crimper? We do have the best, most affordable crimper tool.
That's right.
Buy it now at marcopinball.com. And Glow Melly, yeah, we talked about Replay, Papa, their days being over, but I am praying for a nice resurrection.
Yeah.
So
should we get like a pinball sugar daddy to come in?
Silence in the beginning, sort of.
These ones look better. They're not burnt super hard, but this is one of the annoying things about these Trifurcon pins is they're very tight in their housings. I'm gonna say this one's okay. And if it proves otherwise, then we will do something about it. You know what though? No, I don't like it. Someone used a 10-pin housing where it should be 11. The key is in the right spot, but I still don't like it. That one might not be long for this world. We might change that. I think while we have just a teeny bit of time, let's redo this connector because this one does have those crazy loop-de-loops. And this could be useful at some point for somebody.
Look, there's Baywatch.
Best pinball machine of all time, Baywatch. Let me see if I could get this camera to flip around nicer. Can we see this at all? Down?
Down.
I can try to work like this. Let's replace this guy. This is a little bit more of an advanced technique.
Oh yeah, why does it have loops like that?
Because it's because I'm not sure I can eloquently put together why and how that works, so I'm not going to try. I'm still exhausted. But this game looks
great today, though. This is cool.
Thank you.
Oh, Indie Pins asked, are they service loops?
No, they're not service loops. But what it is it's just it's a cheap way for them to use the way that these IDC connectors work to be able to run 2 wires into 4 positions. That's all. The way this board works is it uses whatever this voltage is. I forget if this is the 13 and I think this is the 9 and this is the 13, but whatever. It's a cheap way for them to have 2 wires coming from somewhere and to be able to run those 2 wires to 4 positions. That's all. I guess that was the eloquent way to put it. So I found it. It just took a minute. All right, my crappy pair.
Fix it?
My crappy pair of flush cutters are now turning so crappy that I can't cut plastic with them, so might be time to retire those guys finally. Okay, so the pin is the 3rd key down. Let's just get that right off the bat. And let's start with doing the complicated guys first. So what we're going to do is we're going to yank both sides of this out of the housing. Sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's easy. This one's proving to be a little difficult. All right, get out of there. And generally what I'll do is since we have a lot of length here, I'm going to give the service loops, or not the service loop, I'm sorry. I can't stop thinking about that
Got
term.
him.
I'm going to take this side and use as much length as I can. So I'm going to snip here. What we're going to do is we are going to strip one side of this wire. And what we're going to do is we're going to strip this side a little longer than it should be. Right? So this is breaking a lot of rules for good crimping. The thing is, though, is that these crimp and stuff terminals that we are using are not designed to have this done this way. But it's possible, and we're going to do it this way. So I've stripped this guy kind of long. I'm going to strip this guy also a little bit long, but not nearly as long as the other. Because what we're going to do is we're going to try to get both of these guys to fit into one crimp. Does this? It's hard just because the colors are so dark back here. Is that?
Yeah, so you have both of the wires.
Yeah, both wires are in here, and it doesn't fit, but we are going to very desperately try to get both of these guys to fit into this crimp. And that is why having a little bit longer of a stripped wire section is better. It's a little long, so I'm going to trim the harness side a little bit, just a millimeter or so. This is tricky. There's no really elegant way to do this, but this is the most elegant of all the ways. So we're going to put it in like that. This is difficult, so I'm going to try to make it as easy as I can on myself, but I am going to sacrifice the camera a teeny bit. I'm sorry. But I'll show you the end result of what it's supposed to look like. Come on. So we were talking about what, J115 earlier, and the burnt GI connector that guy said he had on his game. That's really common. That connector style, you need to do this on, and it's a pain. Okay, this one's still a little long. Okay, hold on. Let's do this. I'm gonna have to trim this a little bit. It's a little long because when I put these guys inside the pin, we don't want the wires sticking out so far that it's going to inhibit the compression action of the pin itself. I want to get the longer one on the bottom, so I'm gonna put it like that. I'm gonna go like this. I'm gonna pinch it, grab my crimpers.
I wish you had see-through hands.
Maybe in the year 2077, when I can get all of my cybernetic implants, that'll be possible. So.
Oh yeah, sorry, Mark Spence. You asked that earlier. Kyle, how long have you been working on pinball machines?
A while. Quite some time. I started doing it professionally, like full-time, getting a paycheck 7 years ago.
So probably like a decade.
Yeah.
Kyle's a lot older than he looks.
Really? I feel like I look like an old man. I got like this big old receding hairline and...
Hey, Bat Out of Hell by Meatloaf said probably a big no-no, but when he does this, he tins the wires together with a teeny bit of solder.
That's fine. The solder will compress. I mean, that's totally acceptable. It's
Nice.
just, yeah, it makes it much easier than sitting here and struggling. That was
Did
the
you just
bad
drop
crimp.
one?
What? That it makes it easier than sitting there and wrestling with the wires. So that's totally acceptable way to do it, man. Whatever makes it
That's-
easiest.
Kyle's 22
Yep.
years old.
I've been doing this since I've been about 10. No. I am, how old am I? I'm 31.
Dang. We're 30 already? What happened?
Time. It doesn't stop.
Crazy.
So there we go. That is how we can put one wire to two positions. So it's messy,
I
but
get it. That's amazing.
it's doable.
I didn't understand it at first, but right when you showed me that, it all clicked. Did everyone understand what he just did?
Let me do it again
Makes
because
a
I
lot of
kind of
sense.
rushed through the finishing move, but it takes practice. And if you were doing this on your pinball machine, right, you have a finite amount of harness, right? So if you do it and then F up and do it and screw up, you're going to continually having like a shorter little bit to try to attach to something. So I'd recommend getting like 2 equal gauge wires and trying to do this a few times off the game itself before you actually try to finagle it in your game.
Absolutely. Practice first.
Yes.
Yes, Glomelly, he's a very old pinball soul.
Ugh.
Indie Pins asked, does the end of the jumper have a pin attached?
Yes. I'm sorry I rushed through that. Let me show you again one more time. Because what we're doing, Indie Pins, right, is we're getting one wire to feed 2 positions. So that is why we have that second jumper wire sticking out. Sorry, again, I'm going to kind of sacrifice camera angle while I get this going. Stick that through and then hope that it crimps and collapses. Yay. Get this guy. It's a lot easier when the wire is supple. When you're doing this on like really burnt things like the general illumination in the other corner, it makes it a little more difficult.
So you're basically connecting those 2 wires together.
Yes.
To just make a pass through.
Because with the insulation displacement connector, you just run the wire long and loop-de-loop around. But with this, you just can't do it that way. So you might break your insulation tab, the tang on the pin, when you do that. When you're trying to put 2 gigantic wires into that one spot, one of these might break. Just give a good tug on the wire and make sure it's solid. If that ever happened when you were doing a single wire, I'd really suggest stopping, recutting it, restripping, and putting a new pin in. But it is kind of an inevitability with these things. It just might happen. There's not a lot of ways to stop it. Like this one. This one definitely had one that broke. So I'm going to hold the pin and tug. They seem pretty solid. So what we have is 1 wire running into a pin with a second wire also crimped in there to give us a second position. So now we can emulate what they did with the insulation displacement and be able to run what was 1 wire to 2 positions. Let's look at the insulation displacement connector way they did that again, right? Let's focus on this wire here. You run 1 wire that's really long, and they press it into the housing. And then they just loop the other end of that wire and press it into there. Because what it is doing, these are just feeding voltage, right? So it's just feeding voltage into 4 pins. So instead of needing to run 4 wires, which is a little more expensive, they do it this way, which is much cheaper to manufacture. So easy peasy. Some may say lemon squeezy. Plug that in, and then I'm going to snip these 2 red ones out. So yeah, does that make sense?
And then you're gonna put the red ones in the new connector.
Yeah, and both of these are the same voltage. They're not striped, so they just need to go in one of these pins, right? And again, since these are all the same voltage, I could have done doubled up, single, but I ran it like this just because it's a little more elegant.
Nice.
So yeah, make sense? Any questions?
Turin asked, why not just 1 pin on the board that splits out to traces?
Probably because of a, well, I don't know. I'm not a electrical engineer, but I'm gonna assume that the that's just, it was too much of a draw to do it that way. I don't know. I think that the current handling capacity of these insulated wires is probably higher than whatever trace they were able to put or fit on the board. But
nice.
I am not an engineer. Sometimes I wish I was, but at the same time,
In your own right.
engineers generally aren't good at fixing things, so I like fixing things.
Kyle, our show keeps getting longer and longer.
What time is it?
It's almost 5.
No, we generally do
Paul
this for 2
Gussick,
hours.
He said, "You guys are psychic. It covered all my issues in one show. Yay!
Yay!
Kyle's the best."
We did something that was actually pertinent to someone's problems. Who said that?
And Nolan too.
Okay, we
That
like
was
you.
Mr.
Thank you.
Paul.
So
It's
again,
never long enough, Gomelli. Yeah, I guess. We could go on for another few hours, but
I'd like to, but you know, I'd like to do this twice a week if the bosses are listening. No, just kidding. Does anyone work in like bioengineering? Can someone clone me
yes, that would be great.
so then I can have
I'll take one.
one of my me's doing my job, and then I could just do this for all of you?
Absolutely. DeWisp, welcome, sir. Good to see you.
Okay, we did it. So let's see. I mean, I know the GI and under the playfield was working. The ones that were really bad were the whatchamacallit. Oh, well, the fuses are missing. Let's not turn it on yet. The game will turn on, but let's kind of get the whole thing to a point where it will be more enjoyable to turn
we
on.
want that shot. So that's it for the lesson today.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions on this lesson? And then we're gonna wrap up the show.
Or just questions in general, because I'm happy to answer them. None of my
Yes.
games are broken, so I like
One of
trying
your
to help you fix
questions
yours.
Is, does Kyle number 2 use cheap tools? Yes.
Yes.
And he drinks. What was that other beer that you didn't like? Miller High Life.
No, Colin Baxter. That, you know, he's been critical of so many of my choices lately. Beer.
No, Kyle didn't say anything.
Oh, okay. He's been critical of my beer though.
Okay, Colin.
No, he's great. Friend of the show. Loves.
Paul's working on a 1991 Harley Davidson.
Oh, that's an awesome game.
The GI Failure. I love that game.
I love that
I
game.
would love to get that game for my dad.
Does he have a Harley?
Yes, he does.
That's rad.
Even his little Pomeranian named Harley rides on the Harley.
That
and
is
loves it.
sweet.
Touched by Polero. Hey, what's up? I got a Marco question, but non-repair related.
I can maybe
Are
answer
we
it.
going to get more Jurassic Park shooter rods?
With the Stern ones? Yeah. I mean, so the thing with Stern is generally is we get as many as they can give us, right? So we will get more when they have more to sell to us. As you probably realize, you know, Stern has been pretty affected by COVID-19 and the shutdowns they had to go through earlier this year. And, you know, a lot of the suppliers that we use and they use have also been affected. So there's some supply chain things that we're trying to get over. So yeah, I'd love to. That is probably the coolest shooter rod ever, as far as I'm
it has
concerned.
a little mosquito in the amber. If you guys don't know what he's talking about,
It is so cool.
Super gorgeous. Absolutely. Soon. Let's see, Nolan. This looks like a good question. He says, "I want to improve my WPC sound quality. Is recapping the soundboard helpful in that regard?"
It depends on what you're chasing and what WPC era you're talking about. If you're trying to improve the sound quality of any game before Indiana Jones, probably not. If it's really staticky and it doesn't sound right, then maybe. But if you're just trying to make it sound sharper or like have a higher bit rate, no. Unfortunately.
He said WPC 89.
Yeah, so again, it's like if it's any game before Indiana Jones, right? It's like they just, that's just the way the soundboard works. They are not the highest sample rate of pinball sound. But if you have like a lot of static and it's really nasty and you're trying to chase something like that down, yeah, possibly. If you had a lot of static and like background noise and weird stuff going on with like a DCS soundboard, yes, absolutely. But yeah, the old soundboards are very, you know, they're classic. They sound how they do.
Crashant20 on Twitch says, "I have an Addams family and the chair shootout randomly goes weak and stops working. Any hints on how to fix this?"
It could be a lot of things. Generally, I would suspect and make sure that the wire form, or not the wire form, rather, the the actual scoop itself isn't like broken. Sometimes those sorts of things, like a broken weldment, can manifest itself that way. It will start flexing and the ball won't travel smoothly or something like that. So I check that. Make sure, check the coil. I have seen weldments that have been problematic, and then the ball just sits in there and it goes dun-dun, 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 and the coil starts to get hot because it's not supposed to fire once every 2.5 seconds, and you can get a swollen bobbin in the coil. So generally the problem is never the coil, but take it apart and see. Take the scoop off, right? Look and see if you have any broken weldments anywhere. Generally they're made from 3 pieces, I think, on that scoop. So you've got 2 sides and a top. And sometimes the welds will break up here, down here. Make sure that you remove the coil and make sure that you can get the coil sleeve out nice and smooth. If it does take a bit of pounding, the bobbin may have swollen, which may be causing adverse coil performance. Make sure the connection's good. Maybe you have a really crummy connection and it's just not working well. There's a lot of things it could be, but generally I'd recommend people to just take things apart and put your hands on it, and sometimes the problem becomes apparent.
Yeah, take a look this weekend or over the week if you can, and then join us next week with your updates.
Yeah, so and if the coil is swollen and the bobbin is swollen, it's very difficult to get that coil sleeve out. That's a proper time to replace the coil. So even if it's still working, it's at that point the performance has been compromised.
Pinball122, thank you. Happy Thanksgiving to you too, and happy Thanksgiving to everyone who's watching. It's how to get that one out there. Okay, question from PinDaddy41. Kyle, have you ever done the modification to Sega games to install the second backbox speaker? If so, is it worth it?
I haven't, and it might be. Sega games have good sound, so that might be fun. I don't know. I'm actually not familiar with that one. I haven't done that before. I think I've read about it, but I don't know. Does my Baywatch only have 1 speaker? Let's put another one in there.
I know, that'd be a fun show.
Was it in the panoramic cabinets, or what games do not have the second speaker? I'm curious now.
While they say that, Pez, I will answer that in a second. But Paul says, what causes the audio pop when shutting off the game? Bad cat? ?
No, it's just it's electronic theory that I don't understand and wouldn't be able to explain. It's like the sudden loss of power or something causes something to spike and noise, and I think it's normal. Like my guitar amps will do that also, right? It's like there's something in an amplifier circuit that can cause that. I don't know, so I'm sorry. I'm not going to try to explain it because I really don't know. Same thing with like turning them on, right? The sudden inrush of current or something like that will cause the amplifiers and speakers just kind of go "Buh," until everything gets under control.
Nuts. Let's see. What time is our session on Thanksgiving? Are you guys missing the show next week?
Yeah.
Everyone's asking. So no, just to let you guys know, we will be streaming next week, not on Thanksgiving Day, which is Thursday, but we will be streaming at the same time on Friday. So Friday, Black Friday.
Yeah, we'll push it off a
3
day.
3 p.m. Eastern.
I was thinking about doing it.
Announcing all of our fun Black Friday deals.
Yeah. We were thinking about streaming on Thanksgiving, but my wife and I were gonna make some delicious German food. Amoto has plans with her family,
We got family plans.
So, we're gonna take that day off.
The next day on Black Friday, maybe more of y'all will be able to watch it since we're changing the day, and then we might have this big where we decide that we need to do our show every Friday. Does anyone have a day preference of when we should do the show?
Why did we do the show on Thursday?
because Thursdays are a bit slower for us.
Yeah.
I mean, not anymore because we do the show. But
I mean, this whole show was
traditionally
born
it's
out of like lockdown and pandemic, right? So we were doing this in my spare bedroom, and now we're doing it at our studio here. But like we were thinking eventually, maybe since we're on the East Coast, maybe even pushing the time back like an hour, you know, and maybe doing it on a different day. I don't know. What do you guys think? I feel bad because if we push it back an hour, you know, it would be harder for us, our few friends in Europe that join us.
Dinner time too.
Yeah, it kind of gets in my dinner time.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's hard.
All right, let's see. A couple more questions, and then we are ending the stream, and we will see you guys on Friday.
So I can go to sleep.
Everyone's just asking if you've done this mod or that mod or this mod. Let me see.
I don't do a lot of mods. I really try to keep most of my games as stock as possible, but I do modifications to improve performance of certain things, right? Especially like the tieback modification on Star Trek Next Generation, right? Like running the wires different for that drop target release in the back. Like that's a huge problem. And if you don't do that, the game can have catastrophic failures, which are no fun. But generally, I try to keep most of my games stock, honestly. I kind of take pride in it. I still have batteries mounted to the board on my Twilight Zone because I hope in 20 years I'm going to be the only person with a Twilight Zone that has not a single mod on it and batteries mounted to the circuit board. We'll see.
Fair enough. Pez, can I post your glass breaking video with little lesson of make sure you don't put glass on cold concrete or something?
Is that what
like
happened? Was it a temperature thing?
Or maybe it hit a scuff in the concrete?
It's funny how angry tempered glass can be. It's funny how temperamental tempered glass can be.
It's horrifying.
I mean, like I've kicked and like drug tempered glass across the floor, and then one of the two times I've broken glass, it fell off. You know, like the sole of a boot is like that high. I was trying to put it on my toe. It landed on the sole, and then it slipped off. It fell maybe a half an inch, and the thing just exploded. But when I'm in the arcade and I accidentally kick it and it slides 2 inches, it's fine. It's weird how that happens.
Yeah. He said accidental concrete placement. I thought I had it on the foot pad, but probably not all the way.
Yeah. Happens to the best of us.
If it touches concrete, though, it's probably because there's either something on the concrete or temperature, right? That would cause it to explode?
Temperature, it can make tempered glass be very temperamental. I don't know why. I mean, tempered glass, it's like when they get all the molecules to like line up one way or something like that. So it's very strong on the fronts, but not strong on the side where everything's in line. I don't remember.
Fair enough.
Fair enough.
Nolan wants us to make some gophers for No Good Gophers. Can we do that, Kyle?
No. It would be nice, but no. We won't get into it here, but there are licensing concerns. With making parts for No Good Gophers. So if you were interested in them, I would recommend you research the license holder and ask him to make them for you.
Yeah, Adams asked, why is glass so expensive from Marco? Shipping. Yeah, we used to take glass to the shows too, and that was definitely the cheapest way you could get it, and people would buy them in bulk.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you have 50 pieces of glass, I'll take all of them. And we were like, well, we got it. Share some.
It almost, I mean, if we take the manpower out of it, the
Shipping's hard,
materials it costs to package the glass into the box cost almost as much as the glass does. It's very, very expensive to ship glass safely across the country. So that is why it is so expensive.
Yep. Yeah. Do we sell complete wiring harnesses for Flight 2000?
No, but I think there is a part on the website that is the complete wiring harness for Flight 2000 because for some reason we had one at some point. That would be crazy.
Mr. Cleanhead says we need a video on tieback mod for Star Trek Next Generation.
If I had my Star Trek Next Generation still, I would show you, but unfortunately I do not own that
Elusive
game.
Ninja.
We need... Hey, if someone wants to bring me a Star Trek Next Generation, we can do the mod.
Oh, thank you for the resubscribe, Elusive Ninja.
Hey,
We have
thanks,
missed
man.
You, but we're
Glad you're here.
hoping Hideaway Arcade is doing well.
From all the pictures, it looks like I'm very sad I won't be going to Arizona
Sterling is
anytime
sharing your
soon.
photos now, so congrats on that. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
Awesome. Well, you guys, we got to go on with our lives, and so do y'all.
What? This is our life.
It's the saddest moment is hitting this end stream button. It's bright red. Alas. So we will see you. I'll make sure to put a notification out on Facebook and everything too to remind everyone. But we will be streaming next week on Friday, Black Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern. No stream on Thursday. So happy Thanksgiving to everybody. We hope you have a very lovely time.
Yeah, eat a lot.
Eat a lot, and we'll have some great new fun deals for Black Friday.
I'm sitting
And
here
actually
reading the chat, sorry.
Get on a call with Midge right after this. So Midge, I'm coming for you.
Thanks for the great show. Thanks for being a great audience
Thank you,
member
guys.
and joining us. Hey, one second. We definitely find someone to raid, but I saw IndiePins ask, what does that mean, the Gophers? On No Good Gophers, you hit the ball into Gophers like you do on like Medieval Madness, so...
Ooh, and we can go to, or you can go, and I'll stay here, but you can go to Michigan and do the mod, the Star Trek Next Generation mod on Glow Melly's pinball machine.
That'll be
And
fun. I
travel
want to come
show.
to his arcade.
I love it. I love it.
Thanks, Daniel. Thanks for joining, man.
Let's see. Okay, so for those who are on Twitch, this is the fun part. We get to go raid another Twitch program. I love this part. Look, and who's the only person streaming on pinball right now? None other than our buddy, Mystery Pinball Theater 3000.
Yes.
That's awesome. Manu, we're coming for you. I'm seeing if there's anything else we could... Do you guys ever think we should, like, raid someone that's not pinball related? Like, look at this Voltar person is doing soldering.
Huh. Thanks, everyone, for saying we had a great show. Silver-haired, you ever come to California? I lived in California for 30 years. I will be back one day when the pandemic is over.
Kyle, we need a better zoom lens.
Yeah, we do.
This guy is like, has like a macro lens on, and you can like see his little pyramids and stuff when he's soldering. Okay.
If we didn't have to have the cameras so spread out, we probably could have done it better today, but I probably should have used the good camera to be over on the soldering desk instead of just pointing in the back box. But I figured since it's so dark in there, I wanted to make sure we had good picture, so. Hey, thanks. Y'all have a good Thanksgiving too. My wife and I are gonna make some German food this year, so. I'll eat a little meat and we can make things vegetarian for her.
Nice.
And
Tofurkey? Is that how you call it?
Tofurkey. I was trying to think I might make some eggplant schnitzel or something like that. See if we could fry some very thin pieces of eggplant, so. I'm not.
Oh yeah, we look forward to rating you, Elusive Ninja, one day. One day.
You picked up a Prospector. Cool, man. Are you in Northern California or Southern California?
I love Prospector.
If you're, I could tell you good people to fix your games no matter where you are in California, but.
Doesn't Free Gold Watch have a Prospector or had a Prospector, Kyle?
Yep.
Or was it? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's either David Valansky's or it's the Pacific Pinball Museums. You're in SoCal? Send me an email and I could send you good people to fix your games. So.
Kyle at marcopinball.com.
That's me. What
All
kind
right,
of German food?
Everyone say bye to Kyle.
Southern California. Oh yeah, we have to go. Sorry everyone, bye.
Bye everybody, thank you for joining us. Oh, I wanted to do my little outro thingy. Look at that.